Okay, so I was called here tonight to support my friend Chantel. But this morning when I woke up, I could feel the spirit tell me that this evening was going to be about self-esteem. And yeah, so I just want to share a few things about my past really quickly, because I know it's at the end of the evening. And yes, the stories that I've heard and what everybody has said has really touched me. I'm quite a private person, so all my life I don't really like talking about myself in particularly. But I'm like 36 now, and in my early 20s, apart from when I was young, my mum suffered with mental health, and my dad was addicted to alcohol. So I came from a very dysfunctional background. I didn't know the Lord when I was younger. And very similar to the stories that I've heard in here this evening about absent fathers and self-worth, it really kind of touched me because I've lived it and I've experienced it, and I believe that there's probably many other women and men within this congregation tonight that have, deal with their issues. So I grew up and I was very promiscuous, and I looked for love in all the wrong places due to my dad not being there and my mum's mental health. I was kind of like kicked out when I was about 15, 16, so I was left to fend for myself. And I was just kind of on the road, really, just out on the street, just having to fend for myself. And yeah, so you know how it goes when you get out into the world like that. The people that you become in contact with. It was survival mode for me. So the long and short of it, I got into like a lot of bad things. So I'm talking over 10, 15 years ago. There was a lot of drug involvement, a lot of men, a lot of like release from just partying, raving, taking drugs myself, just to make myself feel better about who I was and where I come from. And I feel like this generation is crying out with like identity, self-esteem, identity. And as I stand here at my age now, like I look at the youth and I just want so much better for them than what I experienced myself. I've got 3 children now, but basically my first daughter, I had her when I was I was 20, 21, so even back then it was like, that was quite old because I had friends having children younger in that. But I got involved with a guy that was really affiliated to like street life, gang culture, and all of that. And I hate the word gang, so I don't really want to kind of drive on that. He's 40 now, and he is still in prison. He's been in and out of prison for the best part of like 20 years. But you know what? It was my self-worth. I was looking for love, like he showed me it. And you know what, I was at uni, I was studying, and I dropped out because of what I thought this man could potentially do for my life. I didn't realise that anybody was going to come and save me. I thought that he would. Not that I wouldn't say I was naive, because I was really kind of switched on and I knew a lot of things and what I thought, but you know what, it was more kind of, it definitely wasn't love, it was control. So not long after I met him, I got pregnant with my daughter and I deferred from uni. And then I just got into a life of crime, basically, like crime in the sense that just, you would get called aiding and abetting now these days, like kind of supporting him in his criminal activities, kind of just being on the roads. I don't really want to elaborate too much on that, but I know a lot of you will know what I'm on about. So yeah, just supporting him, and like the person that I was very cold. I didn't really care for a lot of people. Obviously I had my people around me and my friends and people that I loved and I respected, but anybody outside of that I was very cold and callous towards. It was like dog eat dog, really, just kind of fend for myself, do what I wanted, take what I wanted. I had a horrible attitude about myself, in the sense that I know my friend shared about her past with men and that, but it was almost like I knew that I could take what I wanted, who I wanted, whether they were married, whether they weren't married. I was just out for myself, money, status, all of that. So just let's fast forward. So basically that was kind of like 2003. And then in 2007, ironically, it was my first my first baby father, I hate that word as well, so my child's dad. So my daughter's dad, it was his cousin that actually, I was living in London at the time, and she took me to a church in Notting Hill Gate, and it was basically there that I surrendered my life to the Lord. It was 2007, my daughter was about 6 months old, but I didn't truly understand the meaning of what I was doing at the time, and I knew that I needed change, but I didn't know how that change was going to come about. So I hear a lot about domestic abuse and violence, and I suffered at the hands of that of my daughter's dad. And just before he went to prison, the last time before I left him, he actually fractured my nose, kicked me in my nose, broke my nose. And it was only by the grace of God that he was arrested about 3 days later in a house raid, and they arrested him, and I was left with my daughter, and I literally kind of left him from then, and I went into a safe house. I went into a refuge, and I was in the refuge for about a year, but I remember this time I'd already surrendered my life to God, I'd given my life to the Lord. I was still lost, and I just want to encourage some of you that feel like, I know a lot of these testimonies are positive, I hear that, but you know what? For a long time, I was fighting God's call over my life for years and years, because I was still involved with certain things, certain people, and some of the points I could hear from the exercise at the beginning of the evening, like our peer group and who we choose to socialise with has a major impact on our decisions and our life choices. And again, if we're not around people that are building us up and want better for ourselves, we will just, we will fall off track. So basically, long and short of it, after that relationship, when I went into the women's refuge, I then, my self-worth still wasn't there. I then went into another relationship with a guy that I had 2 children from. Although it was better, there was still issues within myself, and I was searching for a void. Like literally just, I knew I'd given my life to God, but I'd fallen so far away from him, I didn't know what to do. So I started trying to go to a Bible class. This was probably about 2009, 10. Let's fast forward, I was probably still out in the world quite a lot. I was raving, still partying, still looking for love in other men, even though I had, my baby fathers, whatever, I was just out there. And then, let's go right forward now, 2015, so I moved from London to Birmingham to study, to try and refocus my life. My children now are obviously a bit older, and I was seeing a guy from Birmingham for a couple of years, and it wasn't kind of going anywhere. Anyway, literally, September 2015, I met Chantel, and it was a chance meeting in a nail shop, and
talking about lipstick.
Yeah, talking about lipstick, not Ruby Woo. So I gave her a compliment, and she was like, "Oh." But when she came in, I thought, "Oh no, this girl's fresh." I thought, "No, I don't like." And she came in and she said, "I don't even want to speak to that girl because I don't like." So, but we ended up having a conversation, and literally about 2 weeks before that, I bought myself a Bible. And I knew that I needed to get on back. I could just feel the Spirit calling me. Like I knew God had his hand over me. And I just knew I needed to be in his word. And then literally like two weeks later, Chantal comes into my life and kind of gets me involved with the local church at the time. And all I can say is that was 2015, it's now 2019. As I said, unfortunately for my daughter's dad, he's still in prison to this day, and obviously my prayers are always going up for him that he has a change of heart and the Spirit will convict him. Because he lost his son, he was 17, so my stepson, he passed away in a police car, well, he was killed in a police car chase in London, and my daughter's dad wasn't allowed to come out to be able to bury him, so just politics really. So it's been hard, but I would say what God's doing in my life now, let's just go back to the addiction actually as well. My brother followed, because I feel like as well, like generational curses, like there's a lot of it, and until you stand strong with the Lord, until you stand strong and you have your relationship and you build your relationship with God on a very personal level, you won't understand these things until you live it for yourself. But you know what, I can only advise, like, generational curses are evident, because my brother then went on to form an addiction of his own, and he's been battling for the last 20 years with crack cocaine and heroin addiction, alcoholism. But you know what, he gave his life to Jesus. So that was about a year ago. He's fully clean now. And then myself, like, you know, so I've been abstinent now since 2016. And I'm just, you know, just learning things about my own identity, even at this age. So I just want to encourage you, like, no matter what age you are, you know what, like, build that relationship with the Lord. No matter how far gone you think you've gone, it's never too far gone for him. Yeah. Greater is in me than he is in the world, and you've always got to remember that. And now, actually, you know, very much like Chantel, I wondered, like, how's God going to use me? Like, I haven't gone through, because this is just like a little bit. How's God going to use me, you know? But you know what, he's turned it around now, so I'm actually supporting, I'm working for a Christian organisation within Birmingham City Centre, and we support high-risk males that are attached to the criminal justice system. So anybody that's been kind of in prison for murder, you know, drugs, all of that shebang. So basically, yeah, so I'm supporting them and their families now, they're female. So I know that God is using what I've been through to be able to bless somebody else. So I just want to give the glory to him, really, and he's kept me safe. I've been in so many predicaments in my life that, yeah, it would only have been him. Like, I could have ended up in prison, you know, I could have probably ended up escorting, you know, doing whatever I needed to do to get by, because the road life, they glorify it, but when you're in it and you're knee deep in it, it's not. Because even when my daughter's father went to prison, I can remember there was days with no food in my fridge, you know, the basics. So it's like, you know what, as well, I just want to touch on like county lines, and I hate that word again because that's been going on a long time. But with the youth that are like being kind of, I suppose, made or persuaded, or they feel like they've got no choice, you know, that kind of thing, to go out of the city centre, do whatever they're doing to make money. They just got to come away from them. Those people are like, I don't know what else to say, but yeah, so that's me, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. The Holy Spirit is where?